What's up, everyone, and Merry Christmas. It's Kanan.
It's Jessie.
And we are the Geeky Saying Couple. And yes, today is Christmas. We've already gotten up and opened our presents, all that. We're waiting to eat. I'm starving. But we wanted to work on Christmas Day and get a video up because uploads have been a little inconsistent recently with work, and yeah, holiday season will do that to you, but we're getting close to the end of the tunnel. We still got the after Christmas stuff and all that. But this is an idea that I've had cooking in my head for a little bit, and we've done shipping videos before, but I don't think we've ever done a video going into quick detail about the three main romantic relationships in RWBY so far, that being Arkos, Renora, and Bumblebee, and really how they don't fit just one trope. They fit at least two kinds of tropes each in the general manner. Now, of course, if you enjoy our content, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, click that like button, leave a comment, and all that stuff. Please remember, toward the beginning of the year, we are going to do a live stream. We are finally going to be doing that. Don't have a set date, but we do plan for it to be January-ish, February-ish, somewhere in there. Very beginning of the year. Start the year off with a bang. But, okay. So, one thing that has at least spoke out to me, and I don't know, maybe it's because I like romance. If it's done right, I don't like romance that is kind of shoved out there. I don't know. I've always considered myself a romance connoisseur. You can ask Jess. If a video game has romance options, I'll buy the game. And I've always thought about how there's a lot of people that, of course, criticize the writing in RWBY. But I personally think, out of all things, they've done the romances as far as singling out the different ways romance can play out very well. I always thought the relationships in RWBY were always done very well. They were very well thought out. And then, of course, you've got people who have don't even write romance, who think they can critique it. Me and Jess both have. I've written a little bit back in the day. Jess is more of the writer of the two of us, but we've always included romance in whatever we've done. And I think romance usually is always included because it's a very real emotion. Excuse me.
Sorry.
No matter what you go through in life, whether it be school, your workplace, your everyday life, you build relationships no matter what. And 9 times out of 10, romance will sometimes blossom no matter where you are or what you're doing. And even though romance is not a key factor in RWBY, it's still part of a character's story. Now, of course, we've got characters who have dabbled a little bit in romance, where it be Weiss having a crush on Neptune. And then there's characters who have really not shown much romantic interest in anybody, like RWBY. Now, of course, being nuts and bolts shippers, we would have loved of RWBY and Penny to have gotten together, and that recent cameo with Penny's voice actress still hurts my heart to this day. But if you've not seen that, it's been animated recently. Go watch that. It's all over Twitter. So yeah. So of course, we're going to start with the relationship that started RWBY's romantic relationship. Well, technically, Bumblebee started because they were planned from the beginning, but I'm sure
on screen.
Yeah, on screen. Though I'm sure Arkos and Renora were also in the genesis, somewhere around there. And of course, we are going to talk about tragic love stories with Arkos. Now, it was very apparent from the very beginning that it may not have started out as love, but Pyrrha had an interest in Jean. And of course, it's explained that, you know, out of the kind of life that Pyrrha has had, you know, winning fighting competitions, being on a cereal box, Jean saw her as a normal girl. And that's what sparked her attraction, is that he just, like, when she first literally met him, he literally told her talk to the hand because he was flirting with Weiss. Now, of course, Weiss is a very attractive girl. There's a lot of people in the fandom that thirst for her. So, of course, I can't blame Jean for having an attraction toward Weiss, but Pyrrha. You know, because if you see, like, official fan art of her where she's actually really, it shows, like, her proportions, like how fit she was, like, she would have at least given Wonder Woman a run for her money. Well, I mean, Pyrrha technically is in the Justice League movie, but you all know what I mean. Yeah. She was the closest, I think, besides Yang, to having, like, an Amazon in RWBY. And, you know, it started off very innocent-like. Like, it fits the whole Jean being the dorky, not very clued in that the popular girl, which Pyrrha technically is, she was one of the popular girls, has a crush on. And Pyrrha is that kind of character where, as long as you're happy, I'm like, you know, because she was, like, you know, during Jean's whole fascination with Weiss, Pyrrha gave him the advice to, you know, go for it. Go tell her how you feel. And then after he left, she gets all sad. And Nora's like, practice what you preach, Pyrrha. And of course, it didn't go well for Jean. Weiss never gave him the time of day. Even though, as of now in the series, Weiss cares about Jean. She shows a lot more affection for him now than she used to, but that comes with what they've went through together. Yeah. They've grown as comrades and friends and all that, though there's still a lot of people who are hoping that little interest that Weiss shown in older Jean may be a spark, even though apparently Miles and Carrie have been quoted as saying that White Knight was not going to happen. Though at a recent panel, Kara did say that she is still hoping for White Knight. Kara has always loved White Knight. It's been her main ship ever since the beginning of the show. But then again, it goes with the old saying, just because a voice actor ships it doesn't mean it's going to happen, though.
We know at this point, don't trust anything you hear or see. Doesn't matter what's said, because...
Yeah, because for years, Aaron and Barbara said that, and it turns out they knew all along. But anyway, so the main two things that Arkos covers, in simple terms, when it happened, though a lot of people still say, oh, it's not canon because Pyrrha passed away shortly after they kissed, but then you got people saying a ship doesn't sail until they kiss. So it's whichever way you want to go with it. Technically, for me, it happened, though for a very short time. But yes, in simple terms, Arkos was too little, too late. Because all through Volume 1 and 2, you can see the growing attraction from Pyrrha to Jean, though Jean not getting it. You know, we had little things like her wanting to take up as kind of being his teacher, in a way, in combat. I mean, come on. In Volume 1, she literally unlocked his aura, you know, and we've never seen another character do that for someone ever again. I wish they would touch upon that again. But by Volume 3, you can kind of tell that Jean is starting...
It's starting to click. He's starting to understand.
That she has feelings for him, and that he might be starting to return him. Because, you know, they have that whole, you know... Because let's face it, Pyrrha goes through a lot in Volume 3. A lot of people criticize Volume 3 that they kind of put Team RWBY as an afterthought and focused on Pyrrha. But she's struggling with the thing that her teachers, the adult figures, the people who are supposed to be mentoring her, are literally forcing the role of the Fallen Maiden onto her. which is not good. It's not like, I'm sorry, the Oz, Glinda, Crow, and Ironwood, they literally just forced this upon her. And at the time when you first watch it, it's not really clicking, but then when you go back and watch it and really realize what's going on, yeah, poor Pyrrha just did not have a good time in Volume 3. Obviously. But
that kind of connects later with Ironwood, because obviously it didn't work the first time, but he was going to do it again.
Yeah, he was going to do it to win her.
I mean, that's going to be a later video when we discuss something like that. But yeah, forcing something on
it's kind of like it's almost like the curse of becoming a maiden in a way. But she's struggling with that, and of course, Jean is sitting with her, and he puts his hand on top of hers. And so I see that as not only him trying to make her feel better, but it's like it's showing that he's starting to realize. But sadly, by the time this happens, where Pyrrha finally kisses Jean, and he does return it, even though he's shocked at first, like fate has already decided. Like, it's pretty much Pyrrha knows she's more than likely going to die. So she kisses him, tells him she's sorry, pushes him in the locker, and sends him away so he won't try and stop her. He won't get in the way.
Because we all know Jean would have followed and would have died too.
Yeah.
Then it would have been even more of a tragic love story.
Which the jury is still out on Jean. He's based off Joan of Arc, and if you know the story of Joan of Arc, you know what happens. I've had that theory for a long time that something happens to Jean, and as he's crossing, Pyrrha appears to him. In a way, Pyrrha and Jean are Ruby's if this happened, you could kind of see them as Ruby's version of Romeo and Juliet. But ever since it's happened, we've seen Jean still keep Pyrrha alive. Whether it be in Volume 4, where he has that pre-recorded message of her giving him training instructions, and he's still using it. Him using parts of her armor and all that for his equipment. The scarf that he still has, like in Volume 7, before they got their outfit changes, he was looking at it and he still kept it. Many people do not want to see Jean end up with anybody else. They want him to always keep Pyrrha in his heart. We saw in the Justice League and RWBY movie for the first part, sadly it wasn't really Pyrrha, but we finally got to see a reunion in a way, and it showed
his reaction to her.
Yes, and that Jean is... If Pyrrha was still around, they would be together. He holds her. He cups her face. Jean realized
he loves her.
Yeah, that he did love her. So
I can kind of see it both ways. I mean, I can see, him not wanting to be with anybody because he's going to keep moving forward because it's what Pyrrha wants. But if he does end up with somebody, he could also see it as, Pyrrha would want him to be happy and not just live alone for the rest of his life. So it could really...
Yeah, because...
It can fit either way because, he's still moving forward with his life, but we also know that Pyrrha probably would want him to move on. So really, it could be
it goes with the other thing where it's shown in other media where one part of a couple is... more than likely not coming back, and they tell them, don't make me an anchor,
Yeah.
Don't let me keep you from moving on and being happy.
So really, it could be either way.
But then you have people like my mom. Ever since my dad passed away in 2015, she has no interest in finding somebody. She just does not have that interest. But she's later, she's older. She's later in life. So, of course, you might not have that inclination to,
because an example, she just keeps moving forward in life. That's exactly what she says. You just got to keep going every day. So
yes, for me, Arkos fits the tragic love story. It fits Too Little Too Late, which we still see remnants of as the series goes on. There are still people who are hoping that somehow Pyrrha comes back. I just don't know how. This isn't Dragon Ball Z where you can just gather the Dragon Balls and wish someone back alive. Plus, people don't want to see that happen because it makes death still more of a threat. You just never know who could end up going next. We've learned that with Pyrrha. We've learned that with Penny. It happened with Clover. So, Vine. So, people want RWBY to continue having death be a permanent thing. Will Jean ever get another romance option? We don't know. I mean,
like I said, that's what I said. It could be either way at this point, and
he's definitely been flirted with before, like the thirsty moms. But yeah, so.
And it says a lot also, like, the not being an anchor thing. Like, every time something comes up about Pyrrha, or a memory, or something, he doesn't break down. He just smiles and moves forward. Like, he keeps himself moving forward because he is where he is now. Because that's where she was leading him anyway. So, like, it shows a lot for his character.
Yeah.
So.
And it's because of this, with John's story still going on, he's still a main candidate for who will finally put Cinder down because of this. Of course, there's still many who want it to be RWBY. So we'll see. I
hope Sean. Like, I know RWBY deserves it too.
But would RWBY actively kill someone though? That's
because of the two things for Jean. I hope Jean gets that.
Because I don't think we've ever seen RWBY actually kill a person on her own.
No, so. I think it'll be Jean, and I think it should be because it'd bring everything for him to that closure point, even though it's going to be the hardest thing he's probably going to do next.
Yeah. So, one part of romance that's always been used is tragedy. Romeo and Juliet will always be one of the best examples, and I think with this, with Arkos, with what RWBY was wanting to do, it fits the just too little too late. It fits the tragic love story. So moving on, after almost 20 minutes talking about Arkos.
But I mean, that's the foundation of how things started too. So,
yeah. So now we have Renora, who I think, based off of what we saw in the early series versus where they currently are now in their relationship, they fit, of course, the childhood friends who become lovers thing, but a little too soon. Now, of course, we learned right when Ren and Nora were introduced that Nora had a crush on Ren. You
you could tell.
You're handsome. I mean, not handsome. Oh, we're not together. Stuff like that. It was very obvious from the start that, at least on Nora's side, there were romantic feelings.
I mean, there could have been for Ren, but the thing is because of who he is and the emotions that he kept, like his semblance and all that, we never would know. So.
Well, here's the thing. We learned, I believe it was Volume 4, when they finally gave Ren and Nora some backstory. We learned as a child, Ren was he was way more talkative. He was way more energetic. He was your typical kid in a lot of ways. Nora, who we are introduced to in this flashback as an orphan, was very shy, very withdrawn. Like it's almost like they swapped personalities as they got older. Of course, the whole thing with the Knuckleby, them surviving that, them depending on each other.
The Knuckleby, I think, is what really triggered him to reverse and end up kind of similar to how Nora was in the beginning. So.
But, of course, we have that famous scene at the end of, I believe it was Volume 4, of them on the airship. And, them holding hands. This is like the very first thing we've ever seen, like, really Ren return toward Nora. And, of course, her scooting over and laying her head on his shoulder. And to a lot of people, that was enough. That's
where I, remember learning that that was canon.
Yeah.
Like, and then I think it was mentioned after that point that, yeah, this is a thing.
The problem is in volumes 5 and 6, they really didn't focus on Renora again. Going through 2. Now, of course, you have in volume 6, get back here with my man, you know, and stuff like that.
Which confirmed things even more fully, but
it wasn't until volume 7 where they got the spotlight again.
Yeah, but I will say the end of 4 of that moment, it was, I'm pretty sure, I know I saw something, it was confirmed after that point, after this, that volume was over, yes, Renora is real, and then, that took a back seat to things with little hints here and there, leading to 7.
Yeah, so we get to volume 7, and, them learning about Salem and all that she's immortal and all that really, I think, affected both teams more than what we realized. And it was really apparent with Ren in this whole volume where at first he was like becoming Ironwood's little soldier, like the...
It made you start to wonder what was happening, and really was obviously as things progressed you understood it was internal, like for him, like that was,
he was pretty much, with all they'd learned, I think it was getting to the point where he was starting to be conflicted about his feelings toward Nora, because like you now all of a sudden have to worry about protecting that person, and with the whole Knuckleby thing, he lost both of his parents, and
he didn't want to. Losing her. That was a huge fear, which that would make anybody come back into themselves and hesitate.
Well, the beginning of this scene where they arrive at the rally, a lot of people focused on, Nora talking about Blake and Yang, when the conversation shifts into being about Ren and Nora. So, they walk in and, Ren, Nora says, Blake and Yang are off doing their own thing. And Ren says, well, at least they're back to being friends. And Nora's like, friends, huh? Just friends. And he's like, well, what else would they be? 2 people have gone through that much. I think there's more going on. And then he says, well, one of them may feel that way, but the other one might be worried. That is where it starts turning into about them. Because in a way, it is kind of also about Blake and Yang, after seeing the confession in Volume 9.
That does make sense.
Yang being the worried one. But it really was... it was Nora comparing Blake and Yang's relationship to their own situation. And Ren's, and she's like, about what? And he's like, there's just a lot of stuff going on right now. And Penny asks, I may be confused. Who are we talking about? Again, and RWBY says, I'm not really sure. Now, of course, a lot of people are still saying that RWBY was oblivious to Blake and Yang's relationship, though I really don't think she was.
No. There's looks and stuff that are seen from her that she knows. She's not seen.
Why she says I'm not really sure. She doesn't know if this is about her sister and Blake or if this is about Ren and Nora.
Yeah, and it's just like,
And I still love the scene there in this where Ren is like, can we just not do this right now? And like, it's your typical couple fighting in public where one is irate, wants to deal with this now, or the other one who is like, let's not do this in public, please. But we had seen throughout the series that even though Ren is not great with communicating, he would at least talk to Nora. And, we see her reach over and he kind of shirks away from her. And in a very concerned tone, she asks him, Ren, what's going on? Why won't you talk to me? And you can hear it in her voice. Like she's never seen him close himself off this much, even to her. And then, of course, he says, I've never been good with talking. And so Nora, knowing that actions speak louder than words, says, screw talking, pulls him into this kiss. And, of course, he returns it because Ren does love Nora.
And it's evident, like, it's clear like that. But, like, the thing is
boy, was the timing bad.
It was bad. And because that's why, like, his reaction after that. But we also, later on to find out, yeah, all the things he was worrying about, but everything else, his semblance was close to evolving. He was at the he was pretty much at the max level of his semblance at that point in time. That's gonna bottle up until something forces that out, which makes a lot of sense of why he was acting that way towards Ironwood. With everything else going on combined with that, that's gonna be enough to make anybody retract into themselves and not talk to anybody at all. So, I mean, it feeds into the too soon, but he obviously once his semblance evolves, it makes it so much easier for him to understand and feel and physically see things now. So, which he really needed that. Like, I was happy that they did that way.
So yeah, Volume 7 had a lot of things where confirming that, even though we had a little bit of merch that also confirmed it, but it was nice to see it in the show that Nora's the one that did his braid and all that.
I love that. Just as they're walking.
But even like when at the beginning of the volume where they got the new outfits and, Nora was trying to flirt and say she really liked his outfit, and he was just like, let's focus on the mission. Which, that fits Ren's character a bit. He is a bit more of a, let's focus on reserved. This. But, as the volume went on, he seemed more and more focused on wanting to do what Ironwood wanted to do, the whole yes, sir thing, where Nora was more focused on Mantle. But then toward the end of the volume, we once again got a call back to the airship scene where they held hands on the airship. So that made you at least realize that Ren still reciprocated. It's just that he was conflicted. Now, of course, we get into volume 8, where once again, things are not good. Ren goes with Yang. Nora goes with RWBY. So, but as the volume goes on, we get a lot with Nora saying she doesn't know who she is without Ren. Now, of course, you had people who were saying that was toxic, blah, blah, blah. It's not toxic in that Nora has never really stopped to figure out who she is as a person. Because I've heard this being said in real life all the time. If you can't deal with yourself, what are you going to do with somebody else?
Usually it's a learning process. It's something if you're in a relationship, it's something you're supposed to do along the way. As you two are getting close, you're supposed to also discover things about yourself. Nora wasn't doing that. She was just herself with Ren. She wasn't taking the step back and, okay, there's this, but what do I need for me? Like, she wasn't doing that.
And of course, during this whole time, Ren, in his way, has been figuring himself out. And he has all these struggling moments with the stuff we saw in Volume 7, to him having that argument with Yang, saying, we have no idea what we're doing. RWBY's just a kid, blah, 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 all this. But by the time that him, Jean, and Yang are captured by the Aesops, it finally happens. His semblance evolves, and he can... So, for this whole time, he's been able to keep emotions down using his semblance, but now...
And masking them.
Now he can see people's emotions.
Which I think just before...
Which allows him to easily read people.
Yes, well, I think just before that, he was, there was something he said, and, it was... But something along the lines of, why can't I understand this? Why can't I... in results with emotion, why can't I do this? Why can't I see or understand this? And that was right before he unlocked it, which... That's when everything flooded to him. He goes, okay, pretty much, I get it now. He's starting to figure things out, and that was what led to the end of that. But, that's a lot, again, for anybody. And
so by the time they reunite, Nora has went through her whole thing. She's been injured. She now has those scars.
But the Ren himself, where's Nora? The way he said that, just... It made me feel happy hearing him like that again.
Yeah, so at this point, Ren has figured himself out. Nora, on the other hand, still needs to. She needs to go on that journey herself. So when they have their little reunion, she says, I love you. I always have. but I need to figure myself out first, which he agrees. He caresses her face, boops her on the nose, and they do the whole Blake and Yang thing where they touch each other's heads together. So, of course, there's a lot of people who say, oh, Renora sank. No, they didn't.
No.
They're still in love with each other. They're still technically together.
Yeah, they're still a couple. They're
taking
down.
things slow. And Ren pretty much is giving Nora
the time
her
she
space.
needs.
Yes. And so that's where I think not only do they fit childhood friends to lovers very well, they also fit the mold of a relationship that happened, but it was a little too soon for at least one of them in some way. At first it was Ren, now it's Nora. So it's two characters who need to become complete before they can finally fit together. Not can be said about these two, which we're going to spend the least amount of time on Bumblebee because we've
done a full, and plus we'll go through everything in our streams. So. Yeah.
But Blake and Yang fit, opposites attract, but they also fit in that they were the perfect storm. They took their time.
A slow burn.
Yes, they went from being strangers to partners to friends, then being split up so they could grow as people, something that Ren and Nora did not do. By the time they reunited in Volume 5, Blake was who she needed to be, and Yang, though still having some lingering doubts, was who she needed to be. Now, of course, by the time we get to Volume 9 and the confession, we've had Yang fall, Blake think she was dead, to just Blake, the one character who was always in the shadows, who avoided people, is the one who is ready. She knows she's in love with Yang. She knows it's Yang who she wants to be with. But Yang, because of her abandonment issues and because there is still that plot line with Raven that is not 100% done, and we also see that in Part 2 of the Justice League and RWBY movie with RWBY being reckless and Yang being scared to death she is going to lose her sister, but RWBY finally telling her, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not Raven. So you see that those issues are still within Yang.
They're just not as severe as they used to be.
And that's because the plot line with Raven is not done. We may get that when Volume 10 comes out because of what we saw that was originally supposed to be the Volume 9 finale, with it being Raven who gets them and brings them back to Crow and all them in Vacuo.
Which I'm excited to see, especially since the last time we saw her, the tears.
Yeah,
that's how that was left, and that left a huge thing for Raven, right?
Yeah,
there.
Because that was the first step to Raven possibly being redeemed.
Is she gonna be perfect? No, but that was the last thing we had, and then the feather.
Yeah,
that was really it.
So with Raven, we know that plot line is not done. With Blake, it was done, but Yang was also scared, for one, to take that leap. Because if you've been friends with someone for a very long time, and you've had romantic feelings for them, it's scary to tell them that you want to be something more. Because if they don't return it, there's a very good chance that relationship's never going to be repaired.
Or it's just not going to be the same.
In some cases, it's fine. I've seen some people not return a friend's feelings and them still be friends, but you'll always have that feeling that you screwed up somewhere. And of course, Yang still being scared that if she opens herself up to Blake like that she may lose it. But, that's why Blake doesn't rush Yang. She gives her time, Yang takes that breath, and I really don't think Yang thought that Blake didn't return her feelings. It's just that it was something new for Yang. Like, I really, at this point, don't think Yang ever had a romantic relationship in her life. Despite what kind of character she was at the beginning of the series, I really don't think she ever let anyone get that close enough.
No, she may have, it's possible she may have dated somebody, but not
I don't know. I don't think she's never dated at all.
But I'm saying if she did, it was probably just like, I meant like a couple dates and that was it, not actually in a relationship. I don't think she has been. I don't know, but
now we know after the events of the Ever After, what we got to see in the Justice League movie, she now has those fears toward RWBY, because after what she witnessed RWBY do, now she's scared that she's going to lose RWBY, that RWBY's going to leave her again. So,
which at this point, Lang doesn't want to lose anybody else. Yeah. I can guarantee if Raven threatened to leave again, she'd probably not want her to either, because she finally at least has somewhat of a thread connection there. So I wouldn't at that point, Yang wouldn't want anybody to leave. So I can see why it would jump from Blake to RWBY.
Well, the issues with RWBY were kind of wrapped up in a way in the movie, so that might not be a thing anymore. They might jump back to Raven in Volume 10.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that still points out that's definitely still a fear in her mind, seeing with however RWBY's going to end up being probably going forward into 10, so. Because
in the RWBY Justice League movie, we saw that Blake and Yang still perfectly understand each other. When Yang was getting upset, all Blake had to do was put her hand on Yang's shoulder and it would calm Yang down. We also saw, Yang openly flirting now with Blake in that movie. So, pretty much to wrap this video up, Bumblebee being a slow burn, taking its time, letting us see them going from strangers, partners, friends. That time apart did more wonders for them than people thought it did. It did more good than harm. It let them become who they needed to be by the time they reunited. That way, their relationship could go into romance for Volumes 7, 8, and then where it ended up in 9, with them finally confessing that they are in love with each other and finally kissing, and the kiss going well, and their relationship being good by the end of 9. Them crossing over from the Ever After and back into Remnant, holding hands, officially being a couple. And as of right now, with Ren and Nora as of right now still taking their little time, they're the most established romantic relationship in the story right now. So, yeah. So, Arkos, tragedy. Renora, childhood friend, Arkos, tragedy, and Too Little Too Late. Renora, childhood friends to lovers, but doing it way too soon. Blake and Yang, opposites attract, but they took that time, they took that development, and by the time they did confess their love for each other, they were the people they needed to be for it to work. So yeah, if you ask me, RWBY has done romance very well. It's not the center point, though with Blake and Yang it kind of had to be the center point because they're two main protagonists, where Team Juniper are main protagonists, but they're secondary protagonists. So yes, I think they've done a great job, and I really can't wait to see what happens, what other couples we will get going along the way. But hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, click that like button, leave a comment. As always, guys, this is Kanan.
This is Jessie.
We love you all very, very much. Stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves. No matter what you celebrate, we hope you have a Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, a Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Holidays altogether. Or if you don't celebrate anything at all, I hope you have a good day. And guys, we will see you in the next one. Bye.